Well, guys, we talked about the worst films of 2019, and now it's time to talk about the best. These are my favorite films of 2019. Now, 2019 as a whole was an alright year for movies. It wasn't the best, but it was a lot better than 2018. And with that said, I had a lot of trouble compiling this list together. Not because I had trouble with making a list of 10 movies, no. I had a plethora of movies to choose from that I absolutely loved this year, and I just couldn't narrow it down to 10 movies. So we're going with 20 this year, which isn't going to be a normal thing, but for this year, I really needed it. I couldn't narrow it down to 10. I just couldn't. So anyway, let's get started with this list, starting with my honorable mentions. As my first honorable mention, we have The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot, Us, Uncut Gems, El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, and Dolomite Is My Name. Congratulations to those films for getting on my honorable mentions list. I am so sad that I couldn't put you on my top 20 list, but you guys do deserve it. You were fantastic films, and I appreciated every single one of those movies. They really just brought joy to my heart. But now, let's start with the list proper with number 20. At number 20, we have Ready or Not, which was a very, extremely entertaining film that was just a lot of fun with some very inventive storytelling, some great characters, some great set pieces, some great horror, comedy, some very dark comedy, and it was just overall a blast of a film with a great performance from a lead actress this year by Samara Weaving, who was absolutely fantastic in this film and really made this film stand out for me. I had such a blast watching this film, and that is why it is on this list. Number 19 is a very controversial one, but it is Avengers Endgame. I loved this movie and had such a great experience seeing it in the theater. I was so happy that Disney and Marvel just had the balls to put out a 3-hour movie because we don't get that much anymore. And I love 3-hour movies, and I think this movie really did deserve its length, especially while watching it. It was an extremely satisfying film with great moments of comedy, levity, tears, and heartbreak, and it was just overall a satisfying conclusion to the Infinity Saga. However, I will say that it's not higher just because I just feel so burnt out from the MCU at this point. I loved this movie, but at the same time, the MCU, though I enjoy all their films, they don't resonate with me as much as other films, and I hate saying that, but I think I just can't get emotionally attached to them like other films, although there was great emotional moments in this film, such as with Robert Downey Jr. giving a fantastic performance, but I just can't put it any higher on this list when there are other films that I just loved so much more. And at number 18, we have The Farewell. This is a wonderful little film from A24 with two of the best performances I have seen all year from Awkwafina and the lady that plays her grandmother in this film. This is such a heartbreaking film and heartwarming at the same time, and how you deal with the fact that you can't tell somebody that they're dying. And I thought this film was beautifully done. It's very sympathetic and just a powerful film overall, and that's why it's on this list. At number 17, we have Rocketman, the best musical of 2019. Sorry, Cats, but you were absolutely terrible. But this film is an absolute delight, telling the story of Elton John with Taron Egerton front and center, playing Elton John like nobody's business. Taron Egerton is absolute magic in this film. How he is able to portray and just bring such life to Elton John. The musical numbers are fantastic and weave themselves into the film perfectly. I like that it was able to really convey Elton John's sexuality in this film, and it did it so well. This is one of the most entertaining films I have seen this year. I absolutely love this film. At number 16, we have another musical talent, Judy. Telling the story of Judy Garland, this is a fantastic movie that deals with her final months alive, and it is fantastic. Renee Zellweger gives perhaps her best performance to date. She was born to play this role, and she does it with such grace, and this movie is just so emotionally resonant, going through her life and showing us some of the darker sides of Judy Garland and what she had to go through, and just what a strong person she ultimately was. This was a beautiful film, and I hope you guys check it out. At number 15, we have The Lighthouse. I hated putting this film so low on this list because I absolutely loved it. Again, it has two of the best performances of the year with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe just acting the hell out of this movie. I love the cinematography in this film, the story overall, and I think why maybe it's this low is I just don't love this film as much as the director's previous film, The Witch, which is just one of my favorite horror films of all time. And this film is absolutely fantastic, and it deserves being on this list. At number 14, we have A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, a film that I was really worried about because I just felt that this might have been a little bit of a cash grab because of the documentary that came out last year, but I was mistaken. This is a wonderful, poignant film about not just Fred Rogers, played wonderfully by Tom Hanks, but about his effect on people and his effect on this one person in particular. I thought it was a wonderful little film that had so much heart and really spoke to me on an emotional level. This was a great film, guys. At number 13, we have Ad Astra, a very controversial film for a lot of people, but I absolutely love this film. I loved its themes of fathers and sons, the sins of the father, and I loved just how emotional this film was. This was an emotional roller coaster of a film with great, beautiful cinematography, one of the best performances from Brad Pitt ever. And it was just a wonderful film that was thought-provoking and challenging, and it comes from a director I really, really admire who did one of my favorite films of 2017, The Lost City of Z, and this is another incredible film from him. At number 12, we have Little Women. I was so impressed with this film. Not being a huge fan of Lady Bird, I was just so happy that I loved and enjoyed this film to death. I loved the characters, the acting, the sets, everything about this film just really was emotionally resonant. It was fun, funny, and just an enjoyable film that I could sit down and watch at any time. This was a very fun film, guys, and a great way to end 2019. And at number 11, we have Deadwood the movie. Much like with Avengers Endgame, this is one of the most satisfying films I have seen this year, and maybe even ever. I loved this film to death. It only came out on HBO, and it is kind of working as the finale, the true finale to the series Deadwood, and it does it in a very emotionally satisfying way that says farewell to these characters we have come to love through this series, and does it with so much class, with great acting, great dialogue, and just an emotional story that really is fitting for these characters and this world. Now we're down to the top 10 of 2019, and I'm starting number 10 off with Booksmart. This is one of the funniest films I have seen all year, and it is also just a great film about friendship, and it's just a great film in general. I love what Olivia Wilde was able to do with her directorial debut, making these characters so likable and believable. And the comedy, though over the top, is incredibly fun. The film is just infectious, and I absolutely loved that about it. The last 30 minutes of this film are absolutely incredible, and I can really kind of relate to it all, and it was just a beautiful film. At number 9, we have Knives Out, an incredibly fun thriller whodunit that was just a blast to watch, with great performances from Ana de Armas and Daniel Craig and everybody else in this film. This is one of the best casted films this year, with great cinematography, great thrills, great mystery that was just so fun and brought me back to watching films such as Clue, and it was just a blast to watch. I love what Rian Johnson was able to do with this film, and I am glad it is in my top 10. At number 8, we have Ford versus Ferrari, which is brought to us by James Mangold, the man, the legend, and has some of the best acting I have seen this year from Matt Damon and Christian Bale, with intense race sequences, just great acting. This is a filmmaker's film, and I loved every minute of it. It's a long film, but it never feels too long. It's just right, and it's thrilling, and the last 30 minutes of this movie are some of the most intense moments I have had in a theater, in a movie, this year. Number 7, we have Dr. Sleep, an extremely underrated film for this year. It didn't make that much at the box office, and it's incredibly disappointing because this film is absolutely fantastic. Being a sequel to The Shining, I actually prefer this over The Shining. I like The Shining. The Shining's a good film. However, I just can't get into it. There's just something missing from that film, and I get it here. This is an emotionally resonant film, as I've said many times during this ranking, but I loved the characters in this film. I loved the emotional journey that they go on. I loved the horror elements. I loved the fantastical elements, and it just was a great package of a film, and I can't wait to see the extended cut of this film because, I mean, I already love this film, so maybe this extended cut can make me love it even more. At number 6, we have Parasite, probably the best foreign language film of this year, and one of the best screenplays of this year as well. This is a fantastic and very original film with great character work, great acting, great suspense even, and it's even darkly funny in a lot of places and manages to get pretty serious near the end as well. This was one of the biggest surprises of the year. I absolutely loved this film to death. I'm glad it's on this list and this high. At number 5, we have Toy Story 4. I was so looking forward to this movie, and I was not disappointed at all. This has quickly become my third favorite Toy Story film, and for a lot of people, some people might be like, this movie doesn't need to exist, but I truly think that this film did need to exist, really exploring the character of Woody in a way we haven't seen before that is emotionally satisfying and heartbreaking. This is a great finale for this character, and it has just an extremely emotional, satisfying ending that was extremely earned. I absolutely loved this film. This is, as I said, I would rank this as my third favorite Toy Story film, with Toy Story 3 being last, Toy Story 4, Toy Story 2, and Toy Story 1. Number 4, we have The Irishman. Martin Scorsese came back to do a gangster film, and it was extremely satisfying and worth the wait. This is a 3.5 hour gangster epic like nothing else that is just one of the most mature feeling Martin Scorsese films I have seen, especially when it comes to his gangster films. I loved the slowness of this film. I loved the introspective look at its characters. It has three of the best performances of the year with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci giving it their all. I absolutely loved this film to death, guys. This was one of Scorsese's best films. It was just a great thing to be able to sit down and watch a 3.5 hour movie on Netflix, and brought to us by one of the greatest directors of all time. Now at number 3, we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Guys, this was the film that made 2019 really, really special for me, because I got to see my favorite Quentin Tarantino film to date. I absolutely loved this film, guys. This is Quentin Tarantino's probably most mature film he has ever made since Jackie Brown, and I absolutely loved the characters in this film. Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton are two of my favorite characters now. I love the banter between them. I loved how funny this film was, but I also loved how emotional it could be, especially when showing Sharon Tate. And I thought that was very ballsy of him to do. I thought, like, what he was able to do with this character, with the limited amount of screen time she has, was extremely satisfying, and it was just great seeing her brought to life through Margot Robbie. And this has one of the best third acts of a movie I've seen this year that is incredibly fun, incredibly satisfying, and definitely takes the bad taste out of your mouth from watching The Haunting of Sharon Tate. Then at number 2, we have Marriage Story. One of the best written, acted, directed films that I have seen, not only this year, but ever. This became one of my favorite films of all time by just watching it one time. The characterizations with these characters, the way they are performed, Adam Driver gives his best performance to date. Scarlett Johansson gives her best performance to date. This was an emotional roller coaster of a ride that was very heartbreaking, very real and satisfying, and it just healed my soul in a way, and I absolutely loved this film, guys. This is a great, great film. And now we come to it. We come to my number 1 favorite film of 2019, and that movie is Honey Boy. Honey Boy is one of the most therapeutic films I have seen in an extremely long time. Brought to us by writer and star Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf gets inside his own head and showcases a story that is very familiar to him. Basically, doing a autobiography of his life and showing us what he went through the eyes of these characters, such as Otis. And him playing his father is very heartwarming, very heartbreaking, and it makes it one of the most emotional things I have seen this year. I have never seen a film this year, aside for Marriage Story, that broke me this much. I absolutely loved this film, its character work, how funny it could be, and how heart-wrenching it could be as well. I think that this is a film that people will look back on as one of those weird films that is actually just an extremely entertaining and thought-provoking film. I think Shia LaBeouf has proven that he is one of the best actors working today, and I loved this film to death, guys, and that is why it is my number one. And guys, that does it for my top 20 favorite films of 2019. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm sure that people will think that I missed some things or that I should have put things in a different order, but this was just personally how I thought about these films this year and what I thought were my favorites of the year. This isn't me trying to say these are the best of the year. It's my personal favorites. And guys, like last year, I reviewed and talked about and saw so many movies over this year. I saw 203 movies. And so, just like last year, I'm going to show them all, show all my ratings, add them up, and show you what the end score for the end of the year is. And the overall score for the year of 2019 is a 6.41 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for making 2019 an awesome year for me on YouTube. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next review.